So obviously the offseason is just barely starting. The draft is, free agency is a couple weeks away. The draft is, a couple months away, maybe less. But when you are, and obviously the season just ended a few weeks ago, but when you assess this team and you look at where this team is strong at, where this team's biggest weaknesses are, where do you think the 49ers, what position group do the 49ers need to focus on most this offseason and have to have the biggest upgrade?
That's a great question. And, it's one of those questions where it's tough to answer right in this very moment because you don't know what's going to happen with all the pending free agents.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen to the offensive line with Alex Mack, Laken Tomlinson. You don't know what's going to happen on the defensive line with Arden Key and Maurice Hurst. Arden Key especially because he was such a fantastic contributor down the stretch. And once that 49ers pass rush started to gel at the end of the year, oh, man, that just helped the defense so much. And you don't know what's going to happen with Jaquiski Tart and K'Wan Williams. And, I think about past years during free agency, there hasn't been a strong market for nickel cornerbacks, and there hasn't been a strong market for safety. So I wouldn't be shocked if Tart or K'Wan Williams come back, although I was shocked last offseason based on the contracts they were able to come back.
Right.
Like the vet minimum for both those guys are damn near close to it. So it's tough to answer right now. But I would say, given the fact that it's likely going to be Trey next year, and we've seen injuries at the quarterback position several times over the last couple of years, and Trey Lance is no exception to that. Granted, they were freak injuries. His finger hit a helmet against the Raiders. Kyle Shanahan was running him a little too hard against the Cardinals. Those injuries happen. I'm not saying Trey Lance is injury prone by any stretch of the imagination, but you got to protect your franchise guy. And because of the possibilities of the turnover among the offensive line, like Mike Mcglinchey, what's going to happen with him? He's under contract. He's going to be making, over $10 million. Last year, they exercised his fifth-year option. You don't know what's going to happen with Daniel Brunskill, right guard. There's the most question marks are on the offensive line. I think that's the unit that they should prioritize stabilizing and potentially even upgrading.
Yep, James Coombs.
I'm right there with you, James Coombs.
So here's the thing, Nick, and this is because I agree with you as well. I think the O-line has to be the biggest focus because especially when you have a guy like Trey Lance back there, the offensive line skill set has to change a little bit because he holds the ball a little bit more than some of the previous quarterbacks that have been in the system, right? But here's my issue. The 49ers are terrible at drafting this position, at least this regime, right? They tend to either go after the wrong guy, i.e. pick an Aaron Banks over a Creed Humphreys.
Yep.
Or they completely whiff on picking a guy that's right in their grasp and go after another position, namely Kinlaw over Tristan Wirfs. You know what I mean? And so it just seems like when it comes to the draft, they're not necessarily identifying the right player and going after the right player. If you look at this year, the top three linemen that we have, who would you say are the top three linemen we had this year?
All on the left side, Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack.
Any of them drafted by the 49ers?
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
And if you talk about even the starters, Brunskill wasn't drafted by the 49ers either. The only person that was drafted was Mcglinchey, who went down, and then Tom Compton. Tom Compton came in. He was drafted late round by the 49ers as well. So it's like this isn't a position that the 49ers have evaluated well and gone after well, at least when it comes to rookies and in the draft. It seems like this is a position where they do better when they go in free agency or
spend the money.
And trade and spend the money. So it's a little bit, I guess, perplexing to me why they're allowing Laken Tomlinson to even make it to free agency. I thought that this would be somebody that they'd do the same thing they did with Trent, where, hey, let's get you in a room, let's sign this contract before you even get a taste of what else is out there, because he's that imperative to the team. And I'm wondering if they already think that they have solutions in the house already to even like let him walk. I don't know, man. I just don't. I just don't know how much confidence I have in this regime's evaluation of offensive linemen. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that's very fair. I think that's a fair assessment. Here's me putting on my Les Snead fanboy hat. That will put the money in the investment. You have to do it. Trey Lance, you have to protect him. You have to protect him. And you can't make the argument of, well, he has the ability to extend plays. He can avoid the contact. You gotta protect your franchise guy. And I would love to see them bring back Laken Tomlinson. He has been such a phenomenal get. And I was listening to Matt Mayoko's podcast the other day, and they were talking about how he would be a great fit for the Bengals because the Bengals are going to have to protect Joe Burrow. We've seen what happens, Joe Burrow being the perfect example of what can go wrong when your offensive line can't hold up. How they won some of those games against the Titans, against the Chiefs, talking about the Bengals right now.
Right.
How did they win those games with the quarterback is getting hit and hit and hit? And, of course, you have Trent Williams. He's coming off the best PFF season of all time. Is that
right.
what it is?
Yeah.
I love Trent Williams. And then after that, you do have 4 question marks, which is scary. You have legit 4 question marks from left guard to right tackle. And that is not very comforting when you're having a rookie or a second-year quarterback who didn't get to play much his rookie year. That is far from ideal. So, again, stabilize that offensive line. Try to bring back Alex, or what's the situation with Alex Mack? Wasn't it like a contract that could be longer than 1 year if he decided not to retire? I don't know. I
think he's under contract. So if he does come back, he's under contract with the 49ers. It's just whether or not he's going to come back or retire.
And then Laken Tomlinson, Aaron Banks, he's a true unknown. Like, why was he in street clothes so frequently over the course of the entire year? Then you got a couple who was the other? Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore looked good at times. And then all of a sudden it was like, here comes Tom Compton playing right tackle. And Compton gave a couple good games at right tackle, but you can just see once the moment started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, he started to kind of shrink and shrink and shrink.
Right.
And so you got to figure out that offensive line.
Yeah, it's just very scary for me because, after seeing this team draft over the last 5 seasons, Nick, I think we've started to realize where they're good and where they're not, right? Obviously, when it comes to linebackers, they're great. When it comes to running backs, they're great. When it comes to even defensive linemen, they're able to find talent, where other people miss that. Offensive line, though, is one of those groupings that
when it comes to rounds 5 through 7, great. And how about Jomador Lenore? That's another one where I just scratched my head because I really do think he played really well the first couple weeks of the season in the preseason. And then it's like he just completely went away. I thought week 2 in that Eagles game, he made a handful of great plays, not even necessarily plays, but just staying stride for stride with Devontae Smith and just doing a very, very sound job. I was very surprised, and I think that's a storyline that doesn't get talked about too much for whatever reason. Like, what happened to him? Because it looked like he got off to such a promising start. I was so promised by what I was seeing on the field that I started saying crazy things like, I'm comfortable with Emmanuel Mosley and Jomador Lenore to close out the rest of the year without Barrett. Lenore's looked so good, and then it's just like, where did he go?
Right.
What happened?
I mean, I think anytime you're playing rookies, there's going to be the up and down, and obviously he's a 5th round pick. So,
but it's like I didn't see the down on the field. You know what I mean? Like, where was the down on the field on Sundays where it's like that? Because I thought he showed enough promise to, keep him out there. Like, I saw a lot more downs from Ambry Thomas as far as, like, at least noticeable. And, of course, I wouldn't call myself a casual football fan. I know a little bit more than that. I'll give myself a little bit more respect than that. But I don't watch the film after every game. So I know there's people that are able to form their opinions based on the film and kind of point out the different coverages and what Thomas did better than Lenore. But just as far as the blatantly obvious, here comes another hold or a pass interference on Ambry Thomas, or just him getting mossed or just being in the right position but not being able to make a play on the ball. I saw a lot less of that from Jomador Lenore, granted a smaller sample size, than Ambry Thomas. So I just always thought it was interesting, like, what happened to Lenore?
Right. Yeah, I mean, to be seen. I think that Lenore, they might be grooming to be that nickel corner.
The nickelback?
Yeah. And you know, if that's to be seen, then that'd be great. I mean, we got a lot of time to really see what happens, see what they do in free agencies coming up. You know, Nick, I thought